Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the sixth round, our third year of the NCW North Central Washington MVP series, brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. So I'd like to remind you our goal today is simple: to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another, as well as to the amazing events and programs taking place here. When today looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work being done all around North Central Washington. So grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with both Jan Dasgupta and Serena Morrow. They are here to tell us about their program builder, Data Play Shops. So let me start out with a quick little introduction, and then we'll get straight into it. I know these podcasts go super, super fast. So Jan is a Boeing Distinguished Professor, Department of Math and Stat, as well as Director of Data Analytics at the Washington State University. Go Cougs! And Serena is a grad student at WSU, go Cougs, PhD math with an education emphasis in MS statistics, as well as the program coordinator for Play Shops. So welcome, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. I really appreciate your having us here.
Oh, you're welcome. I can't wait for everybody to learn, about your program builder and your program. So, but if you know me, you know that I like to start off everything with a little bit of fun. So I asked both of the gals for a fun fact about themselves. And just to kick things off, I'm going to say a fun fact about myself is the last thing I do before jumping onto the MVP is brush my teeth. I don't know if it's fun. Maybe it's a little bit weird, but even though it's online, that's the last thing I do. So, but Serena tells me that she grew up on a goat farm with over 300 goats. So I have to ask, Serena, was it hard to sleep at night? Was it noisy with all those goats?
Not really, but stinky.
Yeah, stinky. Okay, all right, fair enough. Fair enough. And then Jan, I saved yours for last because number one, it's pretty incredible. And I think we could do a whole podcast on the questions I have about this. But Jan's fun fact is, without hesitation, she says, I have jumped or fallen out of every mode of transportation except an airplane. So I guess if I have to limit it to one question, have you had any broken bones?
I fell off the horse and broke my pinky once.
Okay.
So I don't know whether you call it a, mode of transportation, but yeah.
That's a mode of, yeah, I would say it is. So that's actually pretty good. I mean, just one broken pinky, that's pretty good. So awesome. Well, thank you. And again, welcome, ladies. Are you ready to do this?
Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, let's get into it. It's going to go pretty quickly here. So, so the theme of this season, I already mentioned. So for MVPs, what we're doing is highlighting anyone can be a program builder, just as long as that program is valuable to students and employers and is actionable. So for the listeners who might not know, what is a program builder?
So I can get started here. So program builder is a process where Career Connected Washington and the STEM networks support some programs through funding. And we were only eligible for this funding because our program, the data analytics program at Washington State University, is a career connected program. And we wanted to explore some options around diversity and career exploration. So we wrote a grant and got a lot of help from people, in the STEM network as well as Career Connect Washington. So I think it's not a huge lift for people who have a plan and, a way of implementing that plan.
Okay, excellent. So, and then just for, again, for our listeners, your program was actually awarded on round 10, even though the round 11 recipients have just been notified in the last, few weeks. And yours is more career explore, where the new round 11 was more career launch, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. All right. So tell us about the Data Play Shop. How have you been so successful with that?
I'll get started, and then Serena, who's really our data play shop coordinator, can add more facts and figures. So the whole idea of the data play shop is to try and take out some of the anxieties and barriers to entry in the field of data, which is often coming from math and math phobia or math anxiety that a lot of people have. And the reason we started thinking about it this way is that like twofold. One is data is now one of the biggest, I think, most valuable commodity in the world. I think it's like everywhere you go, there is data. All big companies are looking at data, and it's becoming like, Medicare, house loans, everything is based on data. So there's a lot of social context to data as well. And a lot of our decisions are being made based on data. However, one of the things that we saw was we have a lot of lack of diversity in the field of data. And to sort of alleviate the problem and try and figure out how we kind of handle this, we decided that, we can think of data as the fourth dimension of literacy and really introduce it at a very, very early age before people have made up their minds about, whether they hate math, just to introduce them to the ideas of like fun ideas around data. And that was the idea of the play shop, where we go into communities, conduct about a 3-4 hour event around data, and without any real math. We use number sense, but no arithmetic at all in these, and keep telling the kids that, hey, you've made a database decision when you play Uno. So that's kind of, and I think why we were so successful is I think we filled a niche need, because, and it's also a need across the world that, everybody, more and more people need to be data literate. And starting early seems like a very logical way. And I think, Serena, you can talk more about our specific successes.
Yeah, I think a lot of our success in expanding this program has been due to really the wonderful partnerships that we've been able to build across Washington, both leveraging the Washington STEM network and the regional directors to then allow us to connect with these local organizations. The Boys and Girls Club has been a great partner for us. And really those connections allow us to then find regional partners where we can go do these events. And without those connections, we really wouldn't be in the spot that we're in right now. And we're still looking for regional partners looking to grow our program. I just met with someone yesterday that's looking forward to having a play shop in May. And so we're still actively adding those regional partners and looking to expand our program.
That's terrific. Yeah. So for all of our listeners, if this is something you want to dive into after we're done with this presentation, we'll make sure that you have contact info so that you can reach out to them as well. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into that. So, I sign up to come to the data play shop with my kiddos. What's that look like? What am I going to be doing there? I'm already getting excited about it.
So we start with some like really what we call like ice-breaking activities. So, it really depends upon the audience. It really depends upon who's coming, what families. And so the whole plan of our data play shops is not to have a plan. We have a script, but not a plan. And we kind of go from whatever the kids tell us. So one of the activities I'll tell you is that we use it as an icebreaker activity. We use like little mason jars and fill it up with M&Ms, and then have the kiddos, and we put one on each table, and then we ask all the kiddos around the table to guess the number of M&Ms in there. And then we ask why. Why did you think it was 50 M&Ms as opposed to 950? And most of the kiddos give us some kind of a reason why. Oh, I counted 20 at the bottom. Oh, or I saw there were a stack of 10 like that. So they're all using their math senses, their quantitative senses. And and then another activity that's been super successful as an icebreaker is we have like little jars, and we have ping pong balls, and we try and tell the kiddos, okay, where should we put the jar? If you're trying to design a game, where should we put the jar? Should it be closer to you or further away than you? Okay. So it's all, and we have these, and we do these kinds of things where We do kid versus parent, kid versus kid. We have like Hot Wheel cars. Those are like super successful where we race. And we ask the kids, why do you think the yellow car won?
Mm.
And they have the best reasons, So
I'm sure they
it's
do.
yeah, it's like, oh, the wheels are closer than the red car. Just things that I would have never noticed.
Yeah.
So these are the types of things that we do as icebreakers. And then once they get, hey, we're having some fun, and we see the parents having fun,
Yes.
then it just kind of takes off in whatever direction they want it to.
Very nice. Yeah, Serena, did you want to add anything to that answer?
Usually we just, I have more activities than we're definitely going to do prepared. So I prepare our facilitators and say, hey, this is the array of activities that we could potentially do with the students, but let's let them lead and let's do things that are culturally relevant in the area. And so like in Brewster, big ag area. And apples are one of the main crops. And so we had like snack time, but also data collection with different varieties of apples. And then we were able to take all of their data that they gave us on note cards. Our facilitators can then put that into visualization software. And then as a group, we can look at Tableau results together and discuss, well, why was the green one sour? Does this represent what you all thought? And so, yeah, it kind of just evolves whatever directions the kids want to take it. And we really try to individualize the learning for that student and what they're interested in.
I love it. I love it. Well, speaking of your students, I know from, working with you yesterday a little bit and earlier that your true north truly is bringing diversity, not only to the world of data, but to all STEM fields. So can you tell us a little bit how your program helps take math out as a barrier for the underrepresented represented?
So, to do that, I'll kind of go back a little bit. Okay, so when I took over the data analytics program at Washington State University in 2020, I realized there was an acute lack of diversity in our student population. Okay, and I first thought maybe it's just, regional, but then I realized it's a worldwide event that, a very small group of people are entering these fields. And that's a little bit scary because so much of our world is now algorithm based. So the people who are, it's not the machines are not biased, but the people who are writing the algorithms, I won't call them biased, but they might be socially and historically ignorant. And that is something, we can't really wait for things to figure out because it just, there's so much algorithms that are out there and there is so much algorithmic biases that are out there. So we really need diversity and we need it quickly. That's kind of the reason I started thinking that, and I thought, the field of data doesn't necessarily only just mean math, because I saw math as a huge barrier to entry, especially when I'm looking at schools that are in underrepresented neighborhoods. To enter our program, one needs to be sort of calculus ready. Okay. Yet there are schools in underrepresented neighborhoods where the highest math that they offer is Algebra 1, which means that they are 3 years behind the math curve, to come to in college. So, these are the things that I started noticing and thinking, what can we do different? And one of the thoughts I thought was that, well, we can do a lot of these same sort of data skills without necessarily having arithmetic involved to start off with. We can think of number sense rather than, what is bigger, what is smaller. That's really a lot of our decision making, based on which one is bigger, which one is smaller. We don't really need to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, which is often a hard skill for a lot of the second and third graders. And, not being able to add 20 numbers in 1 minute makes them feel they're not good in this. But it's not that. We don't need that skill. We need visualization. We need communication. Okay. And so for me, I felt like let's make these sort of grades about communication and visualization and number sense. And so that the kids have a feeling of empowerment that they are doing data activities. Or we are, we can tell their parents, we did this data visualization, so that the word data is not something that they're scared of. That was kind of the idea.
I absolutely love that. And I know I shared this with you, but for our parents who are listening, and even some of our teachers, I'm that gal who was afraid of math, but then later in life, in a prior position, had data presented to me in a different way where I could manipulate it and have it help me do the job at tasks that I needed to do. And I actually do love that. So I love the fact that, again, you're breaking down barriers for underrepresented and breaking down barriers really just for that thought process of, oh, math is hard, or I don't like math, because I'm guilty of saying both of those, but data is actually extremely interesting. So I love that this is the message, and I love that we're getting a chance to share that out. But Serena, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, I can give an example of like one of the activities we do that really pulls math out of a data science task. So the idea of clustering algorithms is huge in data science and one of the primary tasks. And so with our kids, we have a bunch of these animal figurines, all different shapes, sorts, and we have a bunch of different manipulatives that we can use. And they can tell us if we ask them, okay, put these into 3 clusters or 3 groups, they can walk us through orally what their algorithm is and how they're sorting these animals into their different clusters. And we can then do different type of clustering algorithms where we say, okay, I'm not going to give you a number of groups anymore. How are you going to determine how many groups to have? And so really, we're not doing any of the mathematical details behind what's actually going on in a clustering algorithm, but they can tell us about their algorithm and what they're doing and how they're comparing like the animal's habitats or how the animal looks. And we can also introduce things like outliers, like what if I throw in a tree to your pile of animals? Where are you going to put the tree? Or what if I throw in a button? That's a different type of outlier. How do I handle that? And they each come up with very different algorithms, and then they're talking to each other about, well, I think this shape is pointy versus not pointy, or I'm doing this based upon the habitat versus the color of the animal. And so that way they can talk about their different algorithms and see there's not just one way to do it. And so there's really no math involved, but we're still talking through algorithmic thinking and having a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm thinking, gosh, where were you? Well, not you, Serena, but where was this concept in 1978? When I was struggling, and as I also shared, waking my mother up at midnight because I was panicked. I had not done my homework and knew I needed to be able to turn it in. So this is terrific. I'm so excited for our kiddos. And actually, I want to back up just a second because you mentioned that you were, hoping to bring on more partners and have more workshops. There is going to be one in Brewster. You mentioned in April. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right. What's the specific date and where's that located? Do you know that?
It's going to be Saturday, April 13th at the Brewster Boys and Girls Club.
All right. Lucky Brewster. If any of our listeners, anyone around the Brewster, Pateros, all those areas or beyond, remember that Boys and Girls Club of Brewster on April 13th. So good. Okay. Well, let's keep going here because I know there's a lot of information. So we've kind of covered a little bit, but I'd like to go deeper. What are the benefits of being introduced and involved in data at these young ages, as well as, this is a 2-part question, alongside their families?
One of the things I will start here, and I'll also kind of add one more nugget to what Serena just said, that is, this sort of clustering that Serena talked about is really the basis of machine learning, which is what basically is done when one is doing artificial intelligence. So even if the artificial intelligence is huge these days,
Yes.
at the end of the day, it is just a probabilistic prediction, which is based on, principles of machine learning, which is really connected to clustering. So what we are trying to show our kids is the idea of algorithmic thinking. And, I always tell the students that, every day of your life, you're making a data-based decision. You go to your wardrobe and you decide which color clothes to wear. Why? Because past data has shown that you look good in this color, or I like this color, right? That is a data-based decision. It's nothing to do with math, right? It's past data. What color lollipop do I take to my class? Because it's, what type of candy? Oh, such and such has, chocolate allergy, cannot take chocolate. That's a data-based decision. right?
yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things that we are really trying to, emphasize decision making using data. And why is it is important for kids to be young to be exposed to it? Because sometimes I think there is anecdotal and research evidence by third grade, a kid decides they're no good in math. And once they've decided that, they will never choose, data as a field because they think, oh, it's connected to calculus, which is going to be something I don't want to do in high school. Hence, this is not for me. What we are trying to show them is there are very many different pathways into being a data scientist. You don't have to be the algorithm writer. You can be the algorithm user. And as long as you understand and can ask questions, that's all we are looking for. And the reason why we involve parents is, again, to take out these barriers. If we constantly hear the word data at the dinner table, people are talking about, hey, I did this. Did you see what the newspaper said? This is what will, keep the conversation going, because we are starting very young. We want to retain the interest for a while. And so that's why we think the, early age and having parent involvement is crucial.
Very good.
I can jump in and say, I think it's really that exposure at the early age that makes it a little less frightening when you see it later on and introduced as part of the math curriculum in high school, when you get to like measures of central tendency and creating graphs in middle school and whatnot. Once you've seen it, you're a little less afraid of it. And if you saw it early on and it wasn't stigmatized, then perhaps when you get to that later unit, it's less scary. It's a little less intimidating for you because you've seen it before. It feels familiar. And with the families too, it's really great to have those conversations at the play shops about what is going on in our world with data, and to do activities like web scraping with the parents, and to have a conversation about how we're using these tools and how they can use the tools at home as a family too, to continue that conversation and continue to grow that interest.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, I feel like I said, where was this, way back when? Because I can identify with all of that, but yet here I am thinking, oh my gosh, our students, our communities are so lucky to have this opportunity. And then it makes me think this should be kindergarten, first grade curriculum. Like, yeah, let's get them super excited about data, because that is fun. I mean, who doesn't want to make that connection of, picking out the sneakers that they're going to wear, or the color that they're going to wear, or how they set the table, whatever it is in their day-to-day life, that's data. That's super exciting. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so good. Okay. So we still have plenty of time. We still have a little bit over 5 minutes, but I want to make sure that we cover everything that you want to cover. So in these last few minutes, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us that we didn't actually discuss?
I will share the kind of the broader idea behind the data play shops. Okay. And the broader idea is that, in my head, this is a career launch program, even though we started it at a career explorer level, because yes. I really want us to be, the whole idea of these is that we want to have a data literacy center somewhere in the state. And we do these sort of events, whether it's in school curriculum, we are doing it outside school to go through this, after school, or like social clubs, to constantly do these events and keep the kids interested enough in it till maybe K-8. So once they see it in 8th grade or 7th grade, when they're doing data visualization, as Serena said, it's not a huge deal to them. So it's kind of like, I kind of think of it as expose early, link later, so that the word is, they're exposed to it early. They know what it is. They've done it. It's a done and dusted thing. But when they see it, oh, that's where, that's what the mean is. I've seen what the mean is. I know what the mean is. And so I think this is what, and my thought would be, it's kind of a K through 16 idea, so that once they are going through their, high school, maybe work with regional partners to give them internships around, doing little jobs around data. And then maybe once they're trying to get into college, we help them, write these letters and things like that, so that they can get into college and be mentored through college, so that they can get out in the the workforce. So it is a long-term career launch. I mean, it's not going to be, we won't see the effects tomorrow, but that's the, the philosophy behind these data play shops.
Yeah. So, Serena, go ahead. I don't want to jump in.
Oh, I was just going to say too, one thing that we really like to do is give families the opportunity to connect with our own students, to ask questions, data-related questions or college-related questions. We take a bunch of our students, both undergraduates and graduate students, to go facilitate these play shops. And so the kids see what college students look like and what they can do, in a wide range of representation in there. And so we're always happy to provide a family with a data mentor, so that way they can reach out and ask us questions. And we have had, our students are really wonderful. We've had over, I think now 40 unique students from when I started volunteer to facilitate these play shops, to give up their weekends and to go help us out with these events. And so I just wanted to add that that's been one of the reasons we've been really successful too, is they've been awesome and very involved.
Yeah, that's terrific. Thank you for sharing that. So I mean, on that same note, for our parents who are listening, and maybe they've got an interest, maybe they've already attended one of the data play shops. What does a career look like for their students? So they bring their student in, and then the student is introduced to this data world, and then potentially they're going to link up in high school, study it a little deeper. Parents like to know, like, hey, is this going to be a solid career for my child? Are they going to be able to support themselves? Real quickly, maybe just in 2 or 3 minutes, what might a career in data look like?
I'm going to kind of play the devil's advocate and say that, what can't you think of? Think of one career now which is not using data science. So, I mean, I'm just going to say that, for us, for our data analytics program is fairly new in Washington State. So we have about, we started with 10 students. We are at 288 students right now. So it's in like 6 years, we have grown that much. And every single one of our students after a college degree has been placed in a position that relates to their degree. So we have students who are working in, Amazon and Microsoft and Boeing, and, you think of the big tech. We also have a whole bunch of students who are working in the healthcare field. We have students who are working in the, the banking and insurance and those kinds of things. We have students who are working in the ag tools and automated ag, and then things like social policy. So, this is the sky is the limit if you're data literate. I'm not even going to say that, you have to be able to write the programs yourself. If you understand the programs, if you can, manipulate the data, if you can make sense of the data, the sky is the limit now. And everybody is earning way more money than I am. Let's put it that way.
That is amazing. And that's what parents are going to want to hear. Excellent. Serena, anything to add to that?
Not really, just that, yeah, I feel like any company you can imagine is hiring in the data fields right now. It always amazes me when I'm on LinkedIn and positions are popping up about like, oh, Ulta's hiring a data scientist. Cool. And all of these different apps. It's amazing to me really how many jobs are out there and the diversity in the jobs. So you can really pick kind of which path you want to go and what fits your interests.
Well, I will say for my area here in North Central Washington, there's a bit of a boom going on. I mean, we do have aviation, we have manufacturing, food processing, healthcare, all the agriculture. We actually even have, leisure or hospitality. So in all of those those positions, all of those industries also are looking for data. So the students can be introduced to it, learn about it, pursue it, and then be, hired locally. And, I think parents and teachers like to hear that as well too. So, well, I'll tell you what, we're winding down here. I knew it was going to go fast, tons of information. I want to make sure that when we send this information out, that we have your email addresses, both of you. I want to make sure that anyone listening, watching to this knows how to reach out if they want to host an event or if they'd like to talk to you about hosting or participating in an event. So we'll make sure that we do that. But really, this was a super terrific way of kicking off the 6th season. So thank you both very much for coming on and sharing everything about the Data Play Shops. And congratulations again on, being one of our program builders. And thank you for sharing this information. It's so important. I appreciate you coming on today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It was a blast.
Yes.
Awesome. You are welcome.